It's your boy Chips Ahoy, and welcome back to another video here on Hypixel Skyblock. Garden update, garden update, garden update. Everything out right now is all about the garden update, and this is going to be no different. Today, I'm going to be bringing you guys 10 garden-related tips and tricks to help you navigate this new update. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you learned something new today, but I'm not going to hold you any further. Let's jump into tip number 1. We're going to be starting pretty general here, and this tip is just going to be to progress to level 10 garden as fast as possible. You don't need to do anything insane to get that far. It should be super quick. You just create a few plots, get all the different crops down, and farm them each through only once or twice. The idea here is that after level 10, progression gets a lot slower in the garden, so that's when you're going to want to start making larger farms and really spending hours and hours on each specific crop. But up until level 10, you really don't need to do anything crazy, so just try and fly through that. Also, that tip was given by Eelman, who has the second highest skyblock level, so I think he knows what he's talking about. Anyway, moving on to tip number 2, take advantage of your presets. This garden update makes making farms so incredibly easy. All you have to do is build on one plot, and then you can save it and paste it on other plots to make your farm twice, 3 times, or even up to like 10 times as big. In order to make a preset, just build on a plot, then go ahead and click into it and click Save Preset. Then you can name it and save it. You can literally make each preset in like 30 minutes, so it's totally worth doing, and probably totally worth doing all in one day just to get it done with. And you can then farm whatever you want, whenever you want. Moving on to number 3 is going to be unlock plots so that you have a lot of space vertically before you do horizontally. You want to do this because essentially the farms that Hypixel creates for you from the beginning go vertically. For example, the cocoa bean one looks like this. So therefore, if you get other plots next to it vertically, it'll be way easier to connect them, and you'll just be able to run straight for much longer. This is obviously far better than connecting this type of cocoa bean further this way, or this type of any other farm further this way. I hope that one made sense. It's definitely a lot more important in the beginning because later on you're kind of just probably going to be clearing them all out and totally recreating each plot, but that was definitely helpful for me in the beginning. Tip 44444 is also for newer players. It's basically just going to be a heads up for anybody who doesn't have replenish on any of their tools that you can just come in and farm through your farms, and then you don't need to replant, but actually you can jump back into the main area, click on the desk, click to configure the plot, modify, and repaste some more wheat. Obviously, replenish is definitely still going to be worth the buy, but if you can't afford it yet, this is a great workaround. Now, tip number 5 is compost related. Within this thing, you place organic matter and fuel to generate compost. And the tip here is going to be to use cocoa beans, wheat, or sugarcane as the crop or organic matter in the composter. I'll put all the stats up for all the crops on the screen right now, but in my opinion, from looking at this data, those are the 3 crops with the best value for composting, looking at compost value, price, and easiness to get. Continuing on to tip number 6, at max chance, you're gonna get about 25 custom drops per hour. You guys know how with the melon armor, you can drop crappies. With the crappie armor, you can drop squash. Well, with a full set, you get a 0.03% chance of those items dropping, and on most high efficiency farms, that will turn into about 2 every 5 minutes or 24-25 per hour. Obviously, it's RNG, so it can be more or less, but this is just something that's good to know for when you're farming. It'll allow you to check the prices on the bazaar and have a better idea of how much hourly money you're going to be making. Or if you're on Ironman, it'll give you a good idea of how long you need to farm in order to have everything you need to craft the next set. Tip number 7 is that soul sand is actually your friend. If you want to farm without rancher boots to have a higher chance at those custom drops, you won't be able to just set your speed anymore. So since at a certain point it gets much easier to add speed rather than take away speed, and it gets quite difficult to get down to around 100 speed just because of base stats, it's gonna be pretty important to include soul sand where you walk on your farms if you can to easily lower your speed, and then use things like tuning points from Maxwell to increase your speed and get the precise speed that you want. Another way to decrease speed is to pick up or avoid the cake for 10 speed, whatever you need. Whether you do get that or not though, make sure you are getting the cake every 48 hours for +5 farming fortune. Tip number 8 is going to be to talk to all of the NPCs in the game as early as possible. In the garden, you get a little shop. where NPCs throughout the Skyblock map will come and ask for trades. For example, Clerk Seraphine here is asking for 11 cane for some copper. I've got the cane, so I'm going to give it and make the trade. But what's really important here for progression is to talk to and make trades with a bunch of different NPCs. So it boils down to Pokemon, you just gotta catch them all. But in order to catch them all and trade with them all, you have to have talked to them before. So in the logbook, you can see who you've talked to, and you can also see who you haven't talked to. So narrow down on the ones you haven't talked to, look them up on Google, go have a little chat, go right click with them so that they can come and you can make those trades and continue your garden progression. So yeah, make as much progress as you can here and start making some trades. One of them in particular that's pretty nice is Tia the Fairy, because in Tia the Fairy's trades, at least the first 5 for sure, you are able to get a fairy soul. So that's pretty nice. Anyway, these NPCs do come pretty often, especially when you are farming, and the main item that they trade you is copper. That copper is then used at the desk within the Skymart to make some purchases, which brings me to tip number 9. Only spend copper when you need to spend copper. What I mean by this is you need about 15,000 copper to upgrade your fortune to max on every crop. So you kind of need that stuff, and you kind of need to save it up. These upgrades cannot be gotten any other way, whereas a lot of these items in the Skymart can be purchased on the auction house or within the bazaar. So obviously this tip doesn't really apply to Iron Men, but as for everybody else, I'd suggest you buy stuff with money when you can buy stuff with money, and you save your copper for the copper required upgrades. This brings us to our very final garden tip trick, and that is going to be that the Daedalus axe will get you the most farming fortune possible. Now yes, this is an axe that's going to be very expensive. I'm talking billions of coins, but the garden update does make billions of coins, so if you're able to, it's really not the worst idea in the world. It's also just very useful for everything else, but with Chimera 5 on that thing, you can pass over 1,000 farming fortune, and you'll want to use it for everything except for cactus, pumpkin, and melon. If not for that though, you're going to want to grab your mathematical hose and upgrade your tools as much as possible. Remember that when you're using axes like the Daedalus axe, pumpkin dicer, melon dicer, or cocoa chopper, you're going to want to have the lantern helmet on your head. Anyway, that is going to do it for today. I've got to clean up this plot. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you did. And if you want some more tips and tricks, just let me know. Other than that, coming up soon, I will have a full guide on how to make every single farm that you need. So be ready. Anyway, I'll see you all in the next one. Adios and goodbye.